The year is 2025. Our planet is heating up and fast. The very air we breathe is changing, becoming thick with pollution and greenhouse gases. Ice caps melt at an alarming rate. The oceans are rising, swallowing coastlines. We are living through a climate crisis. This is not a future threat. This is our present reality. The signs are everywhere. Extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and more intense. Heat waves scorch the land, setting new temperature records year after year. Droughts cripple crops, leaving millions hungry. Wildfires rage across continents, turning forests into infernos. Floods submerge entire cities, displacing millions. We are witnessing the consequences of our actions. Decades of unchecked fossil fuel consumption have released billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This invisible gas acts like a blanket, trapping heat and warming the planet. The Earth's climate is changing at an unprecedented rate, and the effects are devastating. We are at a crossroads. We can continue down our current path, ignoring the warning signs and condemning future generations to an increasingly hostile planet. Or we can choose to act, to change our ways, and to create a sustainable future for all. The choice is ours, and the time to act is now. Our addiction to fossil fuels is killing us. Coal, oil and gas built our modern world. They powered our industries, fueled our cars and lit our homes, but they came at a hidden cost. Burning fossil fuels releases greenhouse gases. For decades we ignored the warnings. Now the consequences are all around us. It is time to break our addiction to fossil fuels. We must transition to a clean energy future. The digital revolution has transformed our lives. We live in a world of smartphones, social media, and streaming services. But this digital convenience comes at a cost. Our insatiable appetite for data is driving a surge in energy consumption, much of it fueled by fossil fuels. Data centers, those vast warehouses filled with servers and networking equipment, are energy-hungry beasts. They require enormous amounts of electricity to operate, and much of that electricity comes from power plants that burn fossil fuels. As our demand for data grows, so too does the carbon footprint of the digital world. It's not just data centers. Our smartphones, laptops, and other electronic devices all require energy to manufacture, operate, and eventually dispose of. And as we upgrade our devices with increasing frequency, the environmental impact of our digital habits continues to grow. We need to rethink our relationship with technology. We must develop more energy-efficient devices and data centers. We must transition to renewable energy sources to power the digital world. And we must be more mindful of our own digital consumption, reducing our data footprint wherever possible. For years, scientists have been sounding the alarm about climate change. They have presented overwhelming evidence that human activities are warming the planet and that the consequences will be dire. But for too long, their warnings were ignored. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the world's leading body of climate scientists, has issued a series of increasingly urgent reports. The message is clear: climate change is real. It is caused by human activities, and it is happening faster than we thought. We have a rapidly closing window of opportunity to act, and the time for incremental change is over. We need a complete transformation of our energy systems, our economies, and our way of life. The UN Secretary-General has called climate change the defining issue of our time. He has urged world leaders to take bold and ambitious action to address this crisis, warning that we are on a path to global warming of more than 3 degrees Celsius with devastating consequences. Despite these dire warnings, global action on climate change has been woefully inadequate. Governments have made pledges and set targets, but progress has been slow. We are still on track for catastrophic warming, and the longer we delay, the more difficult and costly it will be to avert disaster. Section 5. The Missed Deadline. In 2007, the IPCC issued a stark warning. To avoid the worst effects of climate change, global greenhouse gas emissions needed to peak by 2020 and then decline rapidly. This was a critical deadline, a point of no return. We missed it. By 2020, global emissions had not peaked. In fact, they were still rising. The COVID-19 pandemic caused a temporary dip in emissions in 2020, but they rebounded sharply in 2021, reaching record highs. The consequences of missing this deadline are already being felt around the world. Climate change is exacerbating extreme weather events, disrupting food and water supplies, and threatening human health. And as global temperatures continue to rise, these impacts will only become more severe. Missing the 2020 deadline was a collective failure of leadership. Governments, businesses, and individuals all share responsibility for this failure. We chose short-term profits over long-term sustainability. We prioritized convenience over conservation, and now we are all paying the price. Section 6, a toxic breath. Every breath we take is a reminder of our dependence on a healthy planet. And yet we are polluting the very air we breathe, poisoning ourselves and the planet with every exhalation. Air pollution is a silent killer. It is responsible for millions of premature deaths each year, more than HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. It is linked to a wide range of health problems, including respiratory diseases, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. The burning of fossil fuels is a major contributor to air pollution, releasing a cocktail of harmful pollutants into the atmosphere, including particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxide. These pollutants can travel long distances, affecting air quality far from their source. Addressing air pollution is not just an environmental issue, it is a public health imperative. We need to transition to cleaner sources of energy, reduce our reliance on cars, and improve industrial emission standards. Section 7, the atmosphere's burden. The Earth's atmosphere is a delicate balance of gases, essential for life as we know it. But we are disrupting that balance, pumping billions of tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere each year. These gases, primarily carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, act like a blanket, trapping heat and warming the planet. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has been steadily rising since the Industrial Revolution, and it is now higher than it has been in at least 800,000 years. This increase is primarily due to human activities such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and agriculture. The other greenhouse gases, methane and nitrous oxide, are also potent heat trappers. Methane is released from sources such as livestock, rice paddies, and natural gas leaks, while nitrous oxide comes from agricultural activities and industrial processes. The consequences of this atmospheric buildup of greenhouse gases are already being felt around the world. Global temperatures are rising, ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising, and extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and more intense. Section 8, the ocean's fever. The oceans are the Earth's lifeblood, regulating our climate, absorbing carbon dioxide, and providing sustenance to billions of people. But the oceans are in peril. They are warming at an alarming rate, absorbing much of the excess heat trapped by greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This warming is having a cascade of effects on marine ecosystems. Corals are bleaching and dying, fish populations are shifting, and ocean acidification is threatening the entire marine food web. The consequences of ocean warming extend far beyond the marine environment. Rising sea levels threaten coastal communities around the world, while changes in ocean currents and heat distribution can disrupt weather patterns, leading to more extreme events like hurricanes and droughts. Protecting the oceans is essential for a healthy planet. We need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, protect marine ecosystems from pollution and overfishing, and invest in research and innovation to better understand and address the challenges facing our oceans. Section 9. A future on fire. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the choices we make today will determine the fate of generations to come. We can continue down our current path, ignoring the warnings and condemning our children and grandchildren to a future of climate chaos. Or we can choose to act, to change our ways, and to create a sustainable future for all. The challenge before us is immense, but it is not insurmountable. We have the technology, the resources, and the ingenuity to solve this crisis. What we lack is the political will. We need our leaders to step up, to enact bold policies, and to invest in a clean energy future. But it's not just up to our leaders. We all have a role to play. We can reduce our own carbon footprints by using less energy, driving less, and eating less meat. We can support businesses and organizations that are working to address climate change. And we can demand action from our elected officials. The future is in our hands. Let us choose wisely. Let us choose to act. Let us choose to create a future where our children and grandchildren can thrive on a healthy and vibrant planet.